Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Jace again, and today I'm bringing you guys another investment video, and it is going to be the hotly debated topic about sneakers, which is, should I buy and hold or should I buy and sell immediately? All that and more answered in this video. And before I begin, my name is Jace, and if you don't already know, I love talking about finances, investment, sneakers, and design all on this channel. So if you find any of the content today interesting or helpful, please do consider destroying that like button and subscribing, as it does really help me out and lets me know that you guys are enjoying the content. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Alright everybody, so before we can begin talking about whether or not you should buy and hold or buy and sell, we first do need to define a couple of items, and the first one is going to be an asset, and that is simply going to be something that you own that has value to it. And more importantly, when you are looking to invest into something, you want to hold an asset that appreciates, meaning that the value of this thing that you own goes up over time in value. Now that we know what an asset and what appreciation means, we can finally touch on the key points of why you would want to buy and hold the sneaker. And the first one, we'll start off easy, is going to be scarcity. And I've touched on this before, but companies like Nike, Adidas, and Yeezy all have scarcity built into their business model, meaning that there is a finite or limited number of their products produced at any given time. So for example, if you look at these Jordan 4 Unions here, this was a collaboration between Jordan and Union brand, and there was only about 30,000 pairs of each colorway produced, whereas the Jordan 1 Royal Toe, there was a couple 100,000 pairs produced. And the price of these items are accurately reflected on the free market, where these are worth somewhere between 2 to 3 times as much as these sneakers. So that is generally going to be a great indicator of how rare a sneaker is and how that can affect the price of a sneaker. And because these are generally never going to be reproduced again, you can definitely count on appreciation or count on the product actually going up in value over time. All right, so the second point I want to talk about for buying and holding is going to be timing the market. And I do want to preface by saying that if you're doing things like stocks, you generally don't want to time the market because it's very hard to do so, and depending on what you're looking into, it could be very volatile. However, with sneakers being the asset, it's a little bit more predictable because you have things like release dates and you know exactly what the price is going to be when it comes out. So with that said, the best and easiest time to get into a certain sneaker as an asset is obviously going to be release day. You have the best chance to get it for retail. You can potentially make the most amount of profit and get the most amount of appreciation. Now, the second best time to get a sneaker is usually, from my experience, 1 to 3 weeks after the sneaker has released. This is where I generally see the highest trading and selling volume, just meaning this is the time when everyone is getting their stock in from sneakers or from other raffles that they have won, and they are looking to offload their stock immediately for those quick short-term gains. Because of that, you'll see prices dip, and you can generally get them for a pretty good price even if you do have to pay above retail. Because shortly after that, usually, for my third point, is going to be within 3 to 6 months, you'll generally either notice that the sneaker is going to hit a price ceiling where it kind of maxes out in its price, or you'll notice that the prices will keep going up. There's a good chance that you're not going to be able to get it for that lower price ever again, especially if it's a very rare shoe. Another reason why prices will slowly go up over time, if you hold long enough, people are going to wear these sneakers. The inherent function of a sneaker is for it to be worn. So as more and more people un-DS or start wearing the sneakers, there's going to be less and less stock available, meaning the people that have held out till the end, if it's a rare sneaker like these Unions, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg to get them later on. So generally, it is probably a better idea, in theory, to buy them earlier on rather than later on. Alright, so before we get into buying and selling as soon as possible, I want to touch on one topic, which is going to be depreciation. So if you remember, appreciation means that you own something where the value goes up over time, and depreciation is the opposite, which is where something you own goes down in value over time. So now that we're getting into talking about buying and selling as soon as possible, if you are looking to move something as soon as possible, just keep in mind that the value of the product will go down temporarily. A lot of people looking to move the same product at the same time, and the market is essentially being flooded with the same product. So with that being said, you do need to keep in mind that you are going to take a bit of a loss in profits compared to if you were to hold for long term and sell when there's less on the market. So now that we've touched on what depreciation is and on buying and selling sneakers as soon as possible, I want to talk about a couple of key points to remember when you are considering doing this. And the first one is to remember that scarcity is built into the business model of all these companies like Nike, Adidas, and Yeezy. And the reason why you want to keep that in mind is there are factors that limit the amount of sneakers that are on the market. So pretty much every sneaker is technically limited because of production. Factories can only produce certain amounts, and then on top of that, the artificial supply that is generated because Nike, Adidas, all these other companies don't want the market to be flooded and oversaturated with all these products, because that will drive down demand and drive down the value that is placed on these items by their customers. If you just think back how many L's you've taken and how many sneakers have actually sold out on places like Sneakers and Confirmed, you would probably say somewhere between 90% of the sneakers that get released always sell out. And not all of these are hype or worth tons of money. It's just that the sneaker market is so hot and trendy right now. And the second point I want to get to is that even though many of these sneakers are limited, not every sneaker is going to appreciate over time. You're going to have to liquidate or sell these sneakers in order to make a return on investment that is worth all that time and effort that you put in. And a lot of the time when you're looking to flip something ASAP, you are looking for the highest return on investment. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that there are going to be times where you need to pay attention to a market and sell it off as soon as possible in order to cut your losses. You start losing money on something, and there's got to be a time where you decide to say, I'm out of this asset, or I'm out of this because it's just losing me too much money at some. So now that I've covered buying and holding and buying and selling as soon as possible, so when is the best time to actually sell? And my answer to that is, well, it really depends on what you consider a good return on investment. If you need the money right away, you just started and don't have a whole lot of capital and you need to recoup that as soon as possible, then buy and get yourself a pair of sneakers, sell it, get your profit, and get your capital back immediately so you can start reinvesting it into something else. But if you have the disposable income and you don't really need the money right away, then you should definitely just buy and hold it. And then I obviously mentioned the other criterias earlier in this video and also in that standalone video, which I will link below. And then the second point I have is going to be more relevant and pertaining to long holds, which is when and how long should you hold for that? Like, how do you know when it's going to hit the price ceiling, the highest price it's going to absolutely reach? And the answer to that is you really don't know. And the reason why is with sneakers, because it's so intertwined with things like culture and history, there could be external influences that cause the prices to skyrocket. And case in point is going to be when the documentary The Last Dance came out on ESPN, when MJ got his sneaker deal. If you went on StockX or GOAT or any of the secondary market places to check the cost and pricing of some of the more historical Jordan ones, like the Chicagos and stuff, they skyrocketed. And then another example would be recently we heard that Nike failed to renew the contract with Kobe brand, and RIP to Kobe. Nike is only going to be allowed to release, I believe it was 2 more drops, and then there's really not going to be any more Kobe sneakers that's branded by Nike. And that is definitely going to have an effect in the coming months. Because of that, you saw things like the What If pack that came out from Undefeated actually go back up $800-900, whereas before that announced, it was going for something like retail, like $450. So it represented about a 30 to 40% jump in price. So to reiterate here, my point is that don't try to time the market too much, because there are a lot of external influences where you definitely cannot predict how it's going to affect the prices. All right, so as we come to the close of this video, there's a couple of points I want you to take away. And the first one is going to be, you're always going to be faced with both of these options, buying and holding and buying and selling. And the only way for you to get a real good grasp on doing both and kind of building up that gut feeling, right, that sixth sense, so to speak, is for you to embrace the fact that you're going to have to do both at some point. And as you do that and build more experience with either one, you're going to get a better sense of which one is going to be the better option. And following on that point, a lot of people like to use the phrase, you must fail to succeed. But I always like to think of it with an additional detail, which is you must fail and learn before you can succeed. So you must learn from your mistakes. There's going to be times where you make the wrong decision, and that's totally okay. Those are going to be the times that you want to really learn your lesson and analyze, okay, why did I get that wrong? What could I have done better in terms of my research and kind of analyzing the market? Being very analytical in your investments is something that can always prove to be an asset. And that's why I wanted to make these more financially driven videos, is to serve as thinking material and to serve as a guide, hopefully, for you if you are looking to get started. But anyways, that's the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell notification. As I said at the beginning, we have a passion here for finance, investments, sneakers, and design. So with that being said, stay laced.